Good evening, Danvers, and welcome to the August 9th Select Board meeting. And we will start off with a pledge of allegiance. Matt, would you lead us, please?
Sure.
Good guy, easy.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we have a motion on the minutes of June 21?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, thank you. At this time in our agenda, we take up new public business, anybody that's not on the agenda. And, no one? Go ahead.
Nova Samade, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. Seems like a good summer to ask about where we're at with our water storage for the future. And I know that there's not really another source. We've looked into that. So it seems that we only have a few choices of either like MWRA or a new location, which I think we've been searching for, water recycling, what else? And are we going to repair the existing tank that we have that we don't use? Okay.
Mr. Barther, any update on water storage in the tank at this time?
Nova covered a lot there. I can respond to
Good.
some of that. We don't have any tanks that are not in use. We have some wells that are offline right now, due in part to mechanical issues and also to some PFAS measures that were taken about a year and a half ago. The water supply right now is fine. We're down a few feet at our primary reservoir, but we still have considerable water on hand, and we will begin probably pumping and refilling our secondary reservoir later this month. So the water supply today is okay. A big thank you to the residents for working through as the conservation levels have clicked higher and higher during the drought that we're in. Longer term, the town is working with a group that Senator Tarr pulled together, Senator Bruce Tarr. It's a group that includes some of the Watershed Association advocates, all of the water suppliers on the North Shore, Senator Lovely, Senator Kearns, and we're looking long-term at options that include some of the items that you mentioned, but also simply sharing resources within the basin. For example, Salem-Beverly has more water on demand than they need most of the year. What we don't have within the region are ways to easily transport or transfer that water from both a logistical perspective, but also from a regulatory perspective. The way that the state treats water permits in isolation makes it very complicated to simply share water, even if we had the infrastructure to do that. So these are some issues we're looking at with the delegation as a long-term fix. But those are, I'm going to stress and underscore the long-term aspect of that.
Yeah, well, yeah, because sure we can, we're making it through this summer, but obviously these will just be more frequent, and then we'll have like years like last year where it was just tons of rain. So it just seems more like a storage issue, or like you said, if we can share, that would be.
And I'm going to take a moment to comment on something you didn't ask, but I'm going to plug the operators of the water treatment plant, because knowing that we have enough water in the pond does a disservice to the effort that has to go into treating that water, and that treatment process is influenced by the temperature of the water, the level of the pond. So the water continues to go out to the system as it does every day, as people expect it to, but behind the scenes, the work that goes into treating that changed considerably under conditions like this.
With the heat or the drought?
The
or
temperature,
both?
there's a correlation. So
Okay.
the temperature of the water in the pond is obviously, it correlates to the temperature
Right.
in the sky, and the less water there is in the reservoir, so being down 4 feet, it heats up faster. So that changes the chemical requirements and the timing. So there's a lot of, they're working very hard behind the scenes to make sure that we're keeping up.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for
to
the
them.
question.
Sure.
Bill?
Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. If I could, I have several questions, and they concern the MBTA, if I may.
You may.
Thank you. I have the questions. Would it be easier if I read all of the questions first, or read a question to?
Well, go through them one at a time, Bill, and we'll answer those we can, and those we can't, we'll defer to another time.
Okay. First question was, when did the town start paying the $500,000 assessment to the MBTA?
Years ago.
Years ago. All right, thank you.
We've all been members of the MBTA for many, many years of that district.
As long as we
Yeah.
can remember. Okay. Question is, how is it paid? Is it once a year, quarterly, monthly, bi-annually?
Yeah, I'll defer it to the manager on that one. It's an assessment.
It's a set,
All right. It's semantics as far as the word, but yes.
that's the problem, I drink the water.
You make me cough now.
Do we pay the MBTA on a
Whether
regular basis,
it's-
or?
We are assessed as part of the cherry sheet, so when the state passes its budget, it's called the cherry sheet literally because it was printed on paper that was cherry colored decades ago, and it continues to be called the cherry sheet, but on the front, it shows you the state aid that you're going to receive, and on the back, it tells you the assessments that you have to pay. So as part of the annual budget process, we find out what our assessment is that's baked into our tax levy. We certainly don't pay that all at once in July. The timing of those payments, off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but during the fiscal year for which the assessment is levied, the payments go out back to the state.
Okay. Was there a requirement when we started dealing with the MBTA that to get the goods and services that they provide to the town, that we had to provide a certain number of customers to use their passage through town?
There's no, the ridership is not controlled by anybody.
Nothing to do with it?
No.
Okay. Are we, if, now that they don't service us anymore, are we still gonna be required to make a reimbursement to them?
There's two parts of that question. Yes, we're required to make that payment. The state will assess us every year, but there is some movement on reestablishing some routes in the square and surrounding areas, and I will update the public at the end with new correspondence that we have from a meeting that was held with the MBTA state rep and good friend George Saludo.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr.
The statement that they don't service anymore, there is bus service at the Liberty Tree Mall still.
Correct, thank
There
you.
is still service in town,
But not in the
One-
square.
not downtown.
Okay, so the service is not complete. I was, because there have been articles in the newspaper, they made me want to ask questions, and I would like to think they were concerned for the other taxpayers in town. I was kind of dismayed to learn from the paper that we had to ask our representative to go into Boston, theoretically hat in hand, to ask them to restore what we're paying for. I didn't think it was,
I think the appropriate description would be that she went in on a horse and a saber, not hat in hand.
all right.
She was very
I-
vocal to get that service restored, and rightly so.
I apologize
That's
for
okay.
my
No,
choice
just so
of
you,
words.
just so you understand.
And the
Dan,
fact that it would have,
Just as a point of clarification, the assessment that we pay is not just for the bus service in Danvers. The debt service that the MBTA has for the trains all across its system is apportioned out to the member communities. The logic being that the town of Danvers, with commuters, indirectly benefits from having those trains in and out of the city. So the bus service is one component of the assessment. A large portion of the assessment is debt service associated with trains and services that are well outside of Danvers.
okay. And when the conversation went to the bond, my thought was, if they're asking for a bond be approved for the monies, my question is, what have they done with the monies we paid them? Did they put them in a bank account? Did they disappear?
They have so much debt, and they have
I won't dispute
so
that.
many employees
Yes.
They have so many trains that need to be repaired. They should have, years ago, filed bankruptcy and
Yes.
started from scratch.
Yes.
And I've said that a number of times. But all they do is the state melds MBTA with DOT, and it just, nothing gets done. It's a big cabin. So,
That's why the government might be wanting to take them into receivership to set a
well, the
different
federal
course.
government is raising some red flags, as they should.
One of the observations I made was that if a business operated, and I'd like to think you do too, if a business operated the way they did or do, they would all been fired, and they would have found new people to do their job who were
The small business would
Qualified.
be bankrupt.
okay. The other thing to me was the loss of service for our payment sounds like, I'm sorry, larceny. Which is not providing goods or service that you paid for. A good lawyer, in my estimation, would sue them. The judge might agree. Are they exempt from being sued because they are the agency they are?
Well, that's a tricky question, but again,
I
we're assessed for transportation services that are provided throughout the Commonwealth, and it's just our share as a town that we have to pay. Unfortunately, they cut down the bus routes for many years. Used to have a bus that went out to Hawthorne.
Yes.
They scratched that.
Yes.
Gardner and I worked with the Chamber and the MBTA to try to get them to bring that route back with the college there, the
Yes.
Essex Tech, the building up at Conifer Hill. And they said, well, maybe in 2 years we can think about it. Well, 2 years later or more, they cut more service.
Yes. And this, my questions have nothing, no reflection on the town of Danvers. My questions, to me, reflect on the MBTA, on their actions or inaction, so to speak. And again, can somebody charge them with larceny for what they're doing from us? I ask the questions because I want them out there, not that you can necessarily
If they could
answer
have
them.
been brought to task in a court of law, that would have been done by many communities, many times, many years ago.
Thank you for your answers, and thank
Sorry
you for
we
letting
couldn't give
me.
you any real relief, but
It's the way things go. Again, thank you for letting me ask.
you're welcome. So, Bill, I remember taking the MBTA bus or subway on Beacon Street in Brookline and riding throughout Boston for that nickel.
That was a few years ago,
Yes, it
right?
was. And that's why they're bankrupt. They only charge a nickel.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Just a point of clarification, there were several of us who attended remotely public hearings regarding this issue. Mr. Saludo and I spoke up in those, and they had breakout sessions. Mr. Saludo, myself, Lisa Marie, and some other, Lisa Silva, and certainly Sally were on those calls and made strong and vigorous cases for the return of that. And the chairman and I both have a letter, and I'll defer to him to read it at the end of the night regarding some movement in that direction.
You're welcome. If I may, with the board's indulgence, I'd like to move number 8 up to the front at this time.
Yes, please.
Any objection? No. So number 8 is a public hearing would be held under Chapter 138 of the general laws on the application of American Multi-Cinema, Inc., DBA AMC Theaters, Liberty Tree Mall, 2100 Independence Way. Lydia Parsons, manager, for a change of office at that location. Who is here to speak to that? Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Elizabeth Pisano from Upton, Connell, and Devlin on behalf of the applicant, AMC Theaters. This is an application for a change of officers. We are removing John McDonald and replacing him with Daniel Ellis. There are no operational changes to the establishment. It's just this officer change.
And Madam Clerk, is any paperwork and is it in order?
The paperwork's in order, yes.
Okay. Questions, Gardner?
No, if it's just the corporate offices and not the liquor license holder, I have no questions. Thank you.
Maureen?
No questions?
David?
Nothing, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Matt?
Just a question, so some clarification, the person's name, that the new person,
What's the person's name?
John McDonald.
And,
I'm sorry, we're removing John McDonald. Daniel Ellis is a new officer.
okay. Now, will Daniel be on site at any time, or is he located at some other location?
No, he is just a corporate officer. He's not,
Okay.
he's not local.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, thank you.
All right, and I have no questions either. This is a public hearing. Any questions from the public? A motion to close, please.
So moved?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. What's the will of the board?
I move we accept the application as presented.
Second.
Questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you very much for your accommodation.
Oh, you're welcome, good luck. Number three, the second item on the agenda was the board will meet a candidate for the zoning board of appeals as an alternate. There's nobody here to meet. I'll read the letter, we'll discuss it further. Actually, the letter was sent to the town manager to accept a letter of recommendation from Katie Hislop for appointment to the zoning board of appeals as an alternate member. I understand this position is appointed by the select board and kindly ask that you express to them the interest this division has in having Ms. Hislop serve on the zoning board of appeals. Division staff had the opportunity to virtually meet with Katie. The meeting confirmed that Katie is a hardworking resident, has clear interest in serving the community, 14 years of professional legal experience and time serving as a town meeting member for Precinct 7 makes her an ideal candidate for the alternate position. We did have the opportunity to meet Katie when we had the discussion and interviews with the folks for the registrar of voters. Katie was an applicant at that time. Katie is not here, so I'm going to defer to the board if they have any comments. Maureen?
If she's not here, should we hold it for next meeting? That's what I would like to do. I'd like to meet her.
Thank you. David?
I prefer to have the applicant present for an appointment like this. That zoning board of appeals is very important to me.
Matt?
Yeah, I have the same feelings as Mr. Mills. So the zoning board of appeals is a quasi-judicial group, right? You can't really challenge their decisions. The applicant can, but people in the community can't. I'm concerned that there's only one candidate. What was the, why isn't there a pool of individuals that we can listen to and not just one person? It's,
Well, I think
Just-
we've appointed a couple of new people in the last number of years. Why there aren't other candidates, I don't have an answer for that. I don't know
well, I
that there
don't
would
think
be.
we did an exhaustive search. I don't want to just interview one person. I think we need to, this zoning board of appeals has the ability to overrule the zoning bylaws that town meeting has approved. And that, to me, is always a, it's always a concern, that town meeting, which is one of the purest forms of democracy that we have, is much different than the zoning board of appeals, which is basically just comprised of, residents that are appointed. They answer to no one. And the decisions that they can make, especially in terms of variances and special permits that last forever, I mean, we shouldn't trivialize this appointment to this board. Even though it's in an alternate position, it doesn't matter because those usually morph into permanent. And we've seen some boards and commissions where it's essentially a position for life. We have a planning board that has members from the mid-90s, right? So we shouldn't trivialize this appointment. We need to have more candidates, and we need to have, a vetting process that's not only from the board, but also from the public. That's all I have at the moment.
Thank you. Gardner?
I will say that this has been a position that's been open. Someone showed initiative, said they were interested in it, went to meetings, was reviewed and interviewed by the board members. And her legal experience certainly bears weight. I don't know that if someone comes forward and says, I'm willing to volunteer and spend my time, that we then have to go and say to everybody else who had equal opportunity prior to that, oh, by the way, now that we have a candidate, we're looking for even more candidates. I think that she's shown initiative, and she came here before to volunteer as well as on the registrars. We interviewed her then, found her to be a viable candidate. We just had to make a tough decision between multiple people. I don't think it's a case of someone willing to say, I'm willing to stand up and do the work, that we then have to go out and try to find others simply because we have that application. This has been a known open position for quite a while. And if there were other willing candidates to come forward, great. But in the past, we've asked that they have the candidates come before us. I would support that if we want to table this till she can be here, fine. But I don't consider the necessity for, and if someone were to come forward in between, fine. But I don't consider the necessity of having two people before we act on an appointment as two or more people as necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. And I agree with David. It's kind of been a policy over the last couple of years that the candidates come and stand before us, introduce themselves and answer any questions that there may be. And I think it would be appropriate to ask Katie to be at our next meeting so that we can act on her appointment. So at this time, I think it would be appropriate to table this.
I move we table.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes. So I think we need to actually advertise this. It's not really well-known, maybe, that there's an opening on the Zoning Board of Appeals. Maybe we need to have a more robust effort in terms of using social media or just getting the word out. I'm sure there's other candidates that are well-suited for this position. We need to have the opportunity to kind of interview people for this. Again, it's very important. This isn't some, an appointment to like a recreation commission or something like that. The Zoning Board of Appeals can change the direction and set the tone for future development in Danvers. So it carries a lot of weight.
Matt, we get these applicants from the Town of Danvers talent pool. It's available all year long for people to fill out and apply for different positions. It's on the website. I know Mr. Bartha, if he talks to somebody and they say they have some type of interest, he almost has one of these in his back pocket. It tells them to fill them out. We can certainly ask the planning department what they typically do to look for members. That would be appropriate, but at the moment, we're going to table this till the next meeting so Katie has the opportunity.
Dan, may I make one comment?
Please.
When I was town moderator, I think it was my job to appoint members to the Finance Committee.
Yes.
Do you know how hard it was to find people who would be willing to sit and do that work? I've kind of noticed the same thing about the ZBA. That is a really tedious job if someone's going to do it right. So, I don't think we're going to have a slew. Well, I'm not surprised that there is one recommended candidate, and the number of it being one does not bother me, but I respect what Matt is saying.
So, David, a town becomes a city when they can't fill the boards with volunteers.
Yeah.
And that happens in many towns much smaller than Danvers. And we're very fortunate to get the number of people we do get to volunteer for these positions.
I agree.
So we're not at that stage yet. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None. Thank you very much. A public hearing will be held on 2 poll petitions by Danvers Electric Division and Verizon New England, Inc. Poll petition number 20220-603-1, dated June 3rd, 2022, and Verizon job number 1A5JOLA, dated June 13th, 2022, requesting permission to locate poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including anchors, guides, and other necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public ways. And we'll take these one at a time. The first one being Locust Street near number 160, set a joint-owned 40-foot CL2 stub pole, petition necessary to guy pole 13C-40S, and is someone here to speak to this? Please go to the microphone, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ed Bandar from the Electric Division. I'm a distribution engineer there.
Thank you, welcome.
And so, real quick on a side note, I was also going to speak on behalf of Verizon because it was Danvers that requested that poll.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll have some questions for them, but that was at our request again. So this pole was previously guyed with a tree. So it had a support wire going to a tree across the street. The tree's mostly dead. The owners wanted to remove, the owner of the property at 160 wanted the tree removed. And I've spoken with both 160 and 166, or 162, I apologize. And they have no issues with the pole being set there, to my knowledge.
Can I just interrupt? According to what I have, the dead tree is at 160?
Yeah, I can't recall. This was months ago. I think it might technically be on 162's property line, or, but either way, I spoke to both neighbors, and I don't believe either had any
Okay.
concerns.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
No, that's it.
That's it, okay. Gardner, questions, comments?
So by moving this pole across the street, right now there's a contiguous line that goes up, I'm going to say, on the easterly side of Locust Street. Does that mean you're going to have to cross and then recross, or is that just, or is that a pole only for the guide?
That is a pole only for the guy wire.
Okay, so wires won't cross the street, you're just putting the guide across.
Yeah, we're not relocating any
Okay.
pole.
There's
We're
a
setting
guide
new
there
pole
now, and there's
There's
just
a-
going to be a pole and a guide
instead of a tree. yeah.
instead of a tree and a guide. I have no questions, thank you.
Matt?
Yep, a couple of questions. So the tree, so is that a standard operating procedure to use a live tree as a support for, support
it
for a
used to be.
wire?
It used to be.
Maybe that's why the tree's dead.
Could be. There was a common practice, 40 some
Yeah.
odd years
Yeah.
ago, whenever this was done.
Any thoughts to replacing the tree? Is the tree on town property or on?
No, it's on private property. So as to that, I can't speak.
All right, well, kudos to, for you to speaking with the residents, that's always a positive. It'd be nice to replace the tree for them. I mean, you used it for a while, and now it's doesn't, it's dead, so
Yeah.
maybe the town could come up with some money to replace the tree.
That hasn't, I'm not even
Well,
sure
you can write that down in your notes. and-
okay.
I mean, I think that's, I mean, it's a dead tree. I mean, the tree served some purpose for a while, and now it's, anyway.
Matt, there's nothing wrong with that request, and I'm sure we can ask the
Yeah, I'm
town
just-
manager to let the tree warden know that there's an opportunity to plant a tree, which is part of an ongoing tree planting yearly.
Okay,
Well,
that's
maybe
fine.
they
That's
have
all
an
the
extra tree they
questions I
can-
have
For
on
Dave.
this stub poll.
Thank you. David?
Thank you, Dan. While you're here, if you're taking notes, thanks for doing a great job during this heat wave, because I didn't have one brownout, and every day I'm sucking my thumb thinking that my air conditioner's gonna die. So truly, I think, I worked for the electric light in 1958 when I was a high school student one summer. So I'm very fond of our electric department, especially when they keep my air conditioning going. Thank you for your hard
Oh,
work.
thank you.
That's all, Dan, thank you.
Maureen?
Everyone in the division works as hard as they can. Everyone cares about the town, and I think that communities that have municipal are very lucky, because paying a lot more for less reliability when you're with National Grid and the Eversources.
Thank you.
It is nice,
Maureen?
yeah, it is nice to have our own electric division. I like how you ask the neighbors, and I like the idea of planting a tree, too.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to Belgium Road. Place one joint-owned pole, P6, on the easterly side of Belgium Road to a point approximately 254 feet southerly from the center line of Brookvale Drive. Petition necessary to support the existing pole line as well as to upgrade the existing services.
Yeah, so we requested Verizon set that since it's in their set territory. As you know, it's divided in the town where it's about 45% Verizon set, the other 55 is Danvers. And essentially, we're going to be running a new line down there to improve reliability. And as it exists right now, it's two different dead ends with secondary only. And once the project is complete, there'll be a new primary line set. So we need a mid-span pole between the two to reduce the distance and the length so that we don't have any sort of sag issues or other loading concerns.
Okay, thank you. Maureen, questions?
I just had some questions because I drive around a lot, and I understand the new proposed pole, but when I was driving through that area, there was a pole between 20 and 22 that they just did, and then there was another one that they just did on Brookvale. So,
Brookvale?
yeah, up like up near 21, up further that way. So I just don't know why. And the only thing I can say is just they need to be done. But there was some residents were concerned because there was a lot of dirt left in the street. So can we just make sure that it gets cleaned up well afterwards?
Okay,
Because there's a lot of kids that go through. They ride their bikes.
this was 21.
I think it was 20 to 22 North Belgium Road. There was a pole in between, I think, those two property lines.
So in a lot of cases, what happens is we're waiting on Verizon and Comcast and all the other attachees to transfer because electric always transfers first. And so once that's done, we'll go back out to that location and remove the old pole butt, and then we'll use that dirt to fill in the hole. So that's why the dirt's still there.
Okay.
So
We were just concerned because there's, like I said, a lot of kids ride bikes. So. And then there was another pole further up near 21 to 23. I saw town trucks working there for quite a long time too.
I can look
Just
into
check,
it and see
yeah.
if everything's been transferred,
Okay.
but
Thank you. That's it.
David,
No questions, thank you.
thank you.
Matt?
So can you just reiterate the purpose of the pole? Is it that the wires there are sagging, so you're introducing a new pole to prevent that?
No, so there will be a new primary line going down the street, and essentially it's too far of a distance from pole to pole, so we just need a mid-span to reduce the distance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no pole there today?
No, no, sir.
But your previous comments to Member Bernard about the joint poles, that's always a contentious issue when they're joint owned and there's that lag time of transitioning the wires from the old pole to the new pole. We see the double poles. That's kind of a contentious issue. I know you probably try to do it as quick as you can,
Yeah.
scheduling issue, but sometimes it appears to be like that for months with the dirt that she mentioned and just the cross braces and so forth.
Unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of control over that.
Okay. All right.
I mean, we work as fast as we can.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Gardner?
No, I have no questions. This seems appropriate.
This is a public hearing. Any comments on either Locust Street or Belgium Road? Yes, no? At the microphone, please.
Again, Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. Seems to me in the past there was discussions about double poles in town. I think someone asked for a list of how many there were, where they were, how long they had been double poles and not replaced, what was the reason, what was the time lag. At this stage of the game, is there a list, or a current list of the double pole? I'm not asking you to answer right now.
No, I have
Are there a
an answer
list?
for you. I have an answer.
Okay.
It's an ongoing issue, and they work on it, and we've asked in the past for an update on how many double poles there are and when we plan to get those rectified, and I would think maybe January would be a reasonable time for that report. Come back in January, we'll have the answer.
Lord willing. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's it from the public?
I move we close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none, thank you. What's the will of the board?
I move we accept the application for both positions as presented.
Is there, second is David. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none, thank you. Thanks for your presentation and your time tonight. Thank you very much. And yes, the Danvers Electric does a great, what, don't go away. I own property in Amesbury, and every once in a while, National Grid sends out an alert that you're gonna lose your power. And we lose the power, but they let us know how long it'll be before it comes back on again. But it's ongoing all the time. It's amazing. So you guys do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. A public hearing will be held on the application of Demoulas Supermarkets, Inc., DBA Market Basket, 139 Elliott Street. Jamie Conan, manager for common viculars license at that location. And is somebody here to speak to this? Nobody from Market Basket?
I move we table this application.
Well, if I may make a few comments, do we have paperwork?
We have a map.
We have a map. Do we know when Board of Health and Fire Department signed off on this move that Market Basket made,
The Board of Health has signed off, as well as the building inspector.
and the dates?
I don't have dates.
Can you get dates?
I can.
Thank you. And the motion is to,
Table?
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. A public hearing will be held on the application of AAVYA Sandy Inc., DBA Geo's Roast Beef and Pizza, 47 Elm Street. Leon Ram, Sini, manager, for a change of ownership of a common viculars license at that location. My apologies if I mispronounced your names, but welcome, and please tell us what it is you want us to do.
Hi, my name Lab Singh, my uncle Lejaram. We took over last month the place called Geo's Roast Beef Pizza, 47 Elm Street. We already have experience 10-15 years in fast food, and we like to get the opportunity to run that place.
Where's the application? Is it everything in order?
Yes.
Hours of operation,
10 to 9 every day,
10 to 9, thank you. 7 days?
7 days.
Okay, thank you. Gardner, questions?
No, I'm familiar with the former owner who's opening up another business in town
This is
and
Coles.
transitioning this ownership to these gentlemen. I'm supportive, if nothing else is changing, if there's no other modification other than the ownership and common viculars license name, I have no questions. Thank you.
Maureen?
No questions. Good luck.
David?
Just to say, that's always been one of my favorite places, so I hope you'll keep the menu.
Yeah, everything be same,
Thank you.
all menu same. Thank you.
Nothing else, Dan, thank
All
you.
right, Matt?
Just a question about the layout. So the way the counter is today, the kitchen layout, everything in the interior layout of the business will remain the same as it is today?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I wish you success with this
Thank you.
new endeavor.
This is a public hearing. Anyone in the public?
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none, thank you. What's the will of the board?
I move the application as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none, thank you. Good luck.
Best of
Thank
luck.
Look forward to, when are you gonna open?
Thank you. Huh?
When are you gonna open?
We already last month.
Last month you opened,
July 1st.
amazing, okay. All right, thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank
Gotta go there, man.
A public hearing will be held on the application of Chris and Tom Inc., DBA Pizza Place, 90 Holton Street. Amos Hannah, manager for a change of ownership of a common viculars license at that location. Yes, welcome. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Amonis Hanna. I'm happy to take over ownership was Beach Place. Well, just gonna say we're gonna keep everything the same. The menus, the hours, and the prices. Everything is gonna be the same.
Questions, Maureen?
No, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David?
Nothing, thank you.
Matt?
Just a comment concerning the way the previous owner ran the business, specifically about the parking, the delivery driver parking his car right in front of the business, and that's a marked fire lane. So that's a concern that the delivery drivers couldn't just make an effort to just move the vehicle over to the side and not leave it parked right in front of the business. It kind of interferes with the customer flow. Customers have to walk around the car, so that's not a positive thing for them. But I'm sure that,
I tried to do this.
okay,
but
all right, well, I wish you success.
Thank you.
Gardner?
No, if there are no other changes, I'm all set. Thank you. Good luck.
Did I get everybody here? Okay. This is a public hearing.
I move we close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. What's the will of the board?
I move we accept the application as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
We're moving right along here. Oh, goodness. The next item is the board will consider, one, an application by TGI Fridays, Inc., DBA TGI Fridays, 49 Newbury Street, Angela Pennington, manager, for an outdoor charity event at that location on Saturday, August 27th, 2022, from 1 to 11 p.m. And two, an application by Charlie's Rainbow Charity for a one-day wine and malt liquor license at that same outdoor location. And who's here to speak to this, please?
Good evening. My name is Albert DiNapoli. I represent TGI Fridays. I'm here with Angela Hennington. She is the manager of record of TGI Fridays. She has spearheaded this charity. Of course, no one can just do something this large alone. She's had a lot of backing from a lot of vendors, from towns, and from her patrons. And with us also is Stasha Henstosh, and she is going to be the manager of record for the alcohol service at under one-day license, which is a part of the parking lot area for TGI Fridays. They both have their tip certification that has been provided. This is going to be an event that's going to fundraise for childhood cancer awareness. Charlie was a young girl who died at the age of 3?
13 months.
13 months, sorry. Angela has taken on the task of trying to help childhood awareness because of her sensitivity towards what's happened here. We've been putting this together for a number of months now. We have the DPW who is going to help with the blockade and put some fencing around the grass area to separate it and keep the children from that area. From 1 to 6 is going to be basically like a crafts fair outside. It's going to be mostly geared towards families. From 6 to 11 is going to be a admission of $25. There's going to be a band playing there. All 100% of the admission price will go to the charity. They're going to be serving food and alcohol outside. There's going to be games. There's going to be a fire truck that's coming from the town of Middleton. It's going to be there for the children. It's an antique fire truck that the children will be able to see and maybe sit on. We've reached out to Costco's, to Hardcover, and to the hotel. We've gotten letters in the package and understanding what we're doing. Not only do they support us, but they've made donations. Angela's been putting out flyers and giving these out to all the on-goes, and packages are leaving TGI Fridays, getting a lot of support from patrons. And we have this application. Now, the one thing is, because it's a 501c3 that will be operating in that area, we can apply for a full alcohol license. And although I know that it said wine and malt, but we are looking for approval for that one day for a full alcohol license. Sam Adams is going to donate a beer truck, and we have Martinetti's, which is called United Alcohol, United Liquors. They will be supplying the alcohol, and then the Merrimack distributors.
Yep.
Distributors supplying the beer that's going to be in the beer truck. So Angela is here to talk about it. We submitted a package which hopefully outlines everything and provides the board with the information they need. But Angela is very passionate about this. She has humbled me by her passion and her care for this cause. And Charlie, I guess Charlie's parents are coming from Kentucky?
Yes.
From Kentucky for this event. And I think Angela would like to say a few words.
Certainly. Before we hear from
Yeah.
Angela, though,
Sure.
it's fine. The clerk, is all the paperwork in order? Because I noticed our agenda says wine and malt license. Do you have an application for a full liquor license?
I do now have an application that doesn't quite indicate one or the other. The application just says, well, I highlighted that there. They didn't actually pick. Most one-day licenses are just wine and malt.
Right.
Only organizations that are nonprofit in the
501(c)(3).
Are available to get the all alcohol. They do
Eligible.
qualify.
They're
Right, they're only
eligible.
eligible. They do qualify for that.
Okay.
The only thing I can add on the application, if you look at the map with the area, the colored map that you have in front of you.
I don't know that I received one. I think it's only black and white.
Yeah, it's only black
Oh,
and white.
sorry.
Black and white,
Well, it's
yeah.
this
See
map
that?
here. I don't know that that's,
It's also black and white.
Yeah, we just have, yeah.
I don't know that I received that at all.
Well, there's this map here. Is that the same thing? Yes.
similar.
There is a map here that
Right, so.
shows the buildings.
This is a unique situation because TGI Fridays did qualify and get approved for a temporary outdoor dining with the COVID relief. That deadline has extended until April of 2023. So Fridays is looking to reestablish that same area, which is a 20 by 60 area on the side entrance.
For the one day?
No, that's for the restaurant. In
That
checking,
that would be a separate application that would need determination from this board, correct?
no, they already had an approval, so it
Right.
was just an extension. The state of Massachusetts
So
extended
did they give
that.
it up?
No, they never gave it up.
Okay.
They did dismantle it, but they are going to set it back up in that same approved area for the restaurant.
Well, if
The
they withdrew,
rest-
if they broke it down and withdrew it, do they not need to come back with this board for permission to reset the outdoor?
Not necessarily.
Not
because
necessarily, but
the-
are you sure?
I don't believe so. I believe ABCC has extended all the outdoor patios till April of next year.
No, I'm not
So-
disputing that. I'm just
No, I-
asking if
But-
you broke it down, did you
Yes.
relinquish your rights and ability to do that?
I don't believe we did.
Not intentionally.
But that's why
Definitely not
they're-
intentionally. And I think we would certainly, because we had that approved, we have that area for one day, would like to use that area again. And what we'd be doing is removing those tables from inside that would be part of our occupancy and just moving it outdoor to the patio area for this one charity event.
So let's deal with this one charity event at the moment. I think it's a very admirable effort and very almost daunting. So I give you a lot of credit for undertaking this. So let's ask the board, to see if they have any questions, and I'll start with Matt.
Sure. So just some clarification. So it sounds like this is a local initiative and it's not really being sponsored by TGI Fridays from a corporate perspective, right? This is a kind of a grassroots effort, local here in Danvers?
It's certainly a grassroots in that Angela has spearheaded it, and she's reached out to corporate in Texas, and they are supporting this.
Okay.
And so I've been working with them too for what we need from them. There's a certificate of insurance in there that, working with Ms. Ellsworth, we had it designated that it would cover an outdoor event for this day too, so that we have all the insurance that we
Okay,
require.
that's great. It's good to hear that the corporate office is behind you. That speaks well for the company. Can you just kind of delve into, I'm looking at the map and it's not clear. That's Route 1, right, out the highway outside there. So is there, you talked about fencing. Will that prevent children from kind of not being able to go from the parking lot out near the highway? Is that, because that's like a significant safety concern, I think, right, for you?
Sure, and that's the understanding. The DPW was there. And Angela, if you want to address that specifically, because you met with them.
And so when the DPW showed up, I showed them exactly what I wanted. So that was my biggest fear, especially where this is a charity that's geared towards children, is to make sure that the grass area is completely blocked off so that way nobody would be able to get there. So they're actually going to be inserting that temporary, kind of like what they use at the fireworks and stuff like that, to barricades to kind of keep everybody from going on the grass. So there's going to be nobody allowed on the grass whatsoever, so that entire area is going to be blocked off.
That's great. Maybe you can give a plug for the charity and explain to the public what it's about and perhaps why you feel strongly about it.
So, well, this little girl, so we started following her story when she was 5 months old, when she was diagnosed on Christmas Day. I don't know what it was about this little girl, but she just kind of became something that we got attached to. We shared her story at work all the time, her good days, her bad days. I remember she got real bad sick, and every time she'd get sick, the doctors would say that there's nothing else they could do. The type of cancer that she had was very rare. It's called neuroblastoma. It's a tumor that formed in her stomach, too big for them to operate. If they did, she would have bled to death. So they chose to do chemo. Her mom, who's kid herself, her mom would share stories on Facebook all the time, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between, and I think that that was what kind of grasped the attention of everybody else. And then she started a Facebook page called Charlie's Angels, which has over 20,000 followers. So there are a lot of people that this little girl touched without even saying a word, and those are actually her grandfather's exact words at her funeral. When it came closer to September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, which last year, with everything going on with Charlie and how often we shared her story at work, we thought that it would be a really great idea to do a benefit in honor of childhood cancer, because her mom was constantly sharing all of these different posts. And I started getting into it, and anytime I do something like this, I always like to know a little bit about the background behind it. So I started doing some research, and out of all of the cancer fundings that's out there, out of everything that's donated, only 3.97% of that money goes to children. So it's not the cancer that kills them, it's the medicine. So there hasn't been any new research for childhood cancer medicine in 30 years. So these children, just like Charlie, the medicine that they get are the same medicine that you and I would get if we were sick, just in smaller dosages, and their little bodies can't handle it. So after reading all of this stuff and hearing about all these things on my own, I reached out to Macy, which is Charlie's mom, the day before she passed away, asking if there was something that we could do in order to honor her daughter, to do a benefit for childhood cancer, because that's something that Fridays does. So they actually encourage us to do a benefit, whether it's more like a 20%, you know, for PTA or football or anything like that, which we do a lot of. We do a lot of community stuff like that for Peabody, Danvers, Middleton. So I was like, I always go outside the box with it, and I go a little bit extra. So I reached out to her mom the day before she passed, and the next day I went to go look to see if she responded, and I read that her daughter had passed away. So last year we did do something. At first we were like, we're just not going to use her name. We're not going to, you know, post anything, share her picture. We'll just talk about it. Because as a mom myself, I would never, ever share a picture of somebody's baby without their permission. Well, when we started raising a lot of money, I didn't know where to put it. So I reached out to a page on Facebook that I actually found her story on, and her family was on there. So I've been in constant contact with her family since then. And since then, we've been doing all of these benefits kind of in honor of Charlie. So over the course of the last 8 months, so 8 months since January, we've raised as a region, because I run the events and benefits team in my region. So I run them in 12 stores across our district, and we've raised over $30,000 for charities. So we just did a benefit for suicide awareness, and we raised $2,500 for that in just one day ourselves. So my goal for this is to raise $20,000, and it would be over the course of a month, and then September or August 27th is our fiscal September weekend, so that's what would kick off the rest of the month. Last year, we were able to raise almost $4,000 for her, and we donated it to the hospital that she knew as her home. So I've been talking with her family. Her mom, unfortunately, is not going to be able to come, but we do have a 16-foot inflatable projection screen TV that we got to be able to Zoom her in, but her great-grandmother and her great-grandfather are going to be in attendance. And then since then, this has opened up a whole new community of people to me, and I've actually been in close contact with a lot of other moms who have either lost their babies to cancer, have their babies still fighting, or have fought the fight and won. And they allowed me to make banners with their faces and childhood cancer facts to be able to display throughout our event, and even make a video to showcase everything, and it's the good, the bad, and everything in between.
Thank you very much for that. Matt, are you all set?
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a moving story, and kudos to you and your team for every little bit helps, even though it may not seem like millions of dollars. It's the small contributions that really add up quickly. So, thank you for your work and your effort.
David, any questions?
No, just to applaud the way that you bring so many people together to be part of this excellent work. Good luck.
Daniel, any questions on the application?
No, I have none. Thank you. Good luck to you.
Maureen?
Wow, you can see a passion, you know, go girl, go. I mean, that's wonderful. How's like St. Jude's Hospital, do they?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, St. Jude's Hospital, like how does donations flow to them where you said, what, 3.97 only goes to children?
I still can't,
I'm sorry,
I'm deaf,
it's
so-
me. Oh, 3.97% only goes towards the children?
So all of the money that is raised, like government-funded money that is raised for cancer research, only 3.97% of it is given to children's research.
Wow. Well, thank you for what you do and what a great benefit.
If I may, I actually represent St. Jude Children's Hospital in Massachusetts.
Oh.
So I think what the difference is that they get a lot of direct donations. I think Andrew's talking about donations to the Cancer Society or whatever. How much would be going to children's cancer? St. Jude's gets a lot of direct donations directly to them, and as you probably may know, that they don't charge anything to either the children who are being treated or the parents, no matter what, where they have to fly them in, put them up, and it's so completely charitable towards them. So
That's a great
The
order.
American Cancer Society only donates 1% to children.
Wow. Well, thank you for letting us know that.
Thank you. So, the agenda, do we need to adjust the agenda to make it for an all alcohol license for one day?
Yes, you would make a motion on the application of the event itself, and then you're going to modify to change it to a one-day.
Two motions?
Yes, please.
Okay, can I have a motion on the application of TGI Fridays for the outdoor charity event?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Just a clarification, the charity event itself is 1 to 11,
Yes.
but it's families 1 to 6 is the focus?
Yeah, so
What will the difference be?
So it's going to be split up into two parts. So from 1 to 6, there's going to be Disney princesses. There's a princess birthday party place in Beverly that donated some time where they're going to be dressed up as Disney characters, and they're going to be walking around for the kids. We have some family members of some of our staff that does face painting, so we're going to have some face painting. We have some games that we kind of made up that are kind of like carnival games and stuff like that, where the kids can, you know, pick a duck out of a bucket and stuff like that and win a prize. And then we have a bunch of people that set up craft fair booths, whether it's jewelry or candles or My hairdresser is actually setting up a booth and talking about like gift cards and hair supplies and stuff like that. So we have a bunch of different vendors. The Danvers Dare program, we've done a big benefit for them before, so they're helping us out too. So they're going to set up something, and they're going to have a table with an honorary police badge to be able to give to all the kids, and they can sit in the squad car or check out the Dare police car. And then Mike Benedetto, I don't know if you know who that is, but he's somebody that's in Middleton, and he bought the old fire truck, and he refurbished it, and it's actually the most beautiful fire truck I've ever seen in my life. It's 90 years old. And then he also has the September 11th Memorial fire truck that he rebuilt and reconstructed, and he's going to be bringing those there as well. There's going to be from 6 to 11, I mean, it's still family oriented because it's an 80s rock band. I probably won't know any of the songs, but they'll be playing some music and stuff like that to entertain people. There's going to be the beer truck. We have Shipyard Pumpkinhead Pete that's going to be walking around. It's like some pumpkin guy thing. And then we have some Canopy Lake people that are going to be advertising Scream Fest and going to be walking around in their costumes, good photo opportunities. So even though it's shifted a little bit, just because there's a band, young kids probably not going to want to listen to that. I don't know. Maybe they do. But it's going to be a different atmosphere. So when I say kids and then adults, it's more of like just the atmospheres.
Thanks for explaining that. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the application. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, thank you. Now we need a motion on the second part to be,
I move we accept the application by Charlie's Rainbow Charity for a one-day full alcohol license at the same outdoor location.
Second.
discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, thank you. Good luck.
luck.
Enjoy.
Thank you, and I know this probably doesn't need to be said, but I want to give my thanks to Catherine Ellsworth. She responded to me during her vacation time last week at 6:15 in the morning. She seems to always be working. Probably you all know what a superstar you have there, but I didn't want it to go without being said.
Thank you.
But she's always a great support.
Very good.
As is my first legal boss ever, Mr. David
I
Mills.
was going to always say, you're always welcome here, Al. We were together when you had dark hair and I had some hair. So that was a long time ago. I'm very
I
proud of your
actually
work.
moved David down to Cape Cod a week ago, and clearing out my house, I found all the papers going back to 1982, 40 years ago, that I wrote for you with your markings on them.
God
And I
help us.
wanted to bring one up here today, but I can't find the box in our new house. But when I find it, I will.
Okay, bye,
Okay.
Al.
Take care.
Nice
All right.
job.
Thank you.
All
Good
right.
luck,
Good
thank
night.
you. The town clerk will provide an update on the recent election law changes, the September 6th state primary and November 8th state primary, and 3, the request that the board vote on miscellaneous election requirements to set the early voting location and hours. And our town clerk.
Thank you. I provided you with a document. Some of the changes that became law the end of June is that vote by mail has become permanent for all primary and state elections. My understanding is that the town has the option to opt out for local elections, but I'm waiting for clarification from town council on the local piece. So I prefer to take one election at a time at this point. And the last day to register to vote deadline has changed from a 20-day before an election to 10 days, which makes the last day to register to vote for a Tuesday election always on a Saturday until 5 p.m. And then early voting in person has become permanent for all primary and state elections. Based on the number of registered voters that we have, we are required to have 6 hours of weekend early voting hours for the primary. And state elections will require 2 weeks of in-person early voting. So we'll have 1 full week of during normal business hours and 1 Saturday. I've also attached for you an overview of the vote by mail process. If you take a quick peek at page 3, the vote by mail process changes the way that we allow voters to vote. Previously, we did have the option for the early in-person voting, but this vote-by-mail process, the state has sent out vote-by-mail cards that I received mine on July 20th.
I got mine too.
So what that means, all registered voters got that card. So that means that our election voting cycle starts on July 20th. So when those cards come back to us, we have to review the application for completeness. If it's not complete, then we have to go back to the voter and ask them for more information. Then we have to prepare the ballot, send it out, enter into the system, run the ballot through the postage machine, mail the ballot, note in the system that we mailed the ballot, and then we wait for that ballot to come back. So when the ballot comes back, then we have to review the return ballot for completeness. If it's not complete, we have to send a letter back to the voter. If it is complete, then we continue on with the process. We have to enter it into the election system and then maintain those ballots sealed until Election Day. So we have to file those, sort those, interfile new ballots. Then we have to print the list of all of the vote-by-mail ballots, and then the ballots go to the polls on Election Day. So it's kind of a monumental task for the vote-by-mail. And we have calculated out that it takes about 7 minutes per ballot. So to this point, we have sent out, we got 2,200 cards back. And of those cards, we got 450 have been returned. So we're sitting on 450. So every day cards are coming in, ballots are going out, ballots are coming in, we're entering them. So it is a significant process. And if anybody has any questions on that chart, yes.
When, number 7.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Janice.
No, go ahead.
Number 7, ballot returned to the office. What is the last date that it can be returned to the office in order for it to complete your process of review, and if you need to get back to people?
Well, those ballots can come back to the office up until the close of the polls on Election Day.
But let's say something comes up, it comes in the day of the polls, the day of the election day, or the night before, and I failed to sign, or I, in some other manner, did not complete it properly.
If time allows, we would resend it out. But
Okay.
if you're doing that on Election Day and you
Yeah.
didn't provide a phone number, we would make every effort to get in touch
Okay.
with that
All right.
voter. But the idea is that you're allowing enough time for that whole process to play out.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, right here.
Yep.
So I returned my ballot, and it's in a brown envelope that I signed. When are those brown envelopes opened?
Depending on your community, in Danvers, we do not open those envelopes until they go to the polls on Election Day.
Right, that's
So the
good.
warden will confirm that the ballot has been received and that the voter has not voted in between the time the ballot comes in and then the ballot is open.
Right, that's good, that's what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear that the brown envelopes weren't opened until there was actually time to scan the ballot. Because-
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
In some larger communities, they do have the option for early processing, but that involves a much more significant staff.
Yeah, but here in Danvers, you wait until the day of the election to actually process the ballots, sort of during the day when when there's a low turnout during, like, in the middle of the afternoon, you start scanning the ballots at that point?
I have them start as soon as the day begins.
Okay.
Because if we think back to the 2020 election, there were thousands of those brown envelopes. And I kind of calculated out how long it took the tabulator to process a ballot. And I figured that if they started immediately running those ballots through.
That makes sense.
And so generally, on Election Day in 2020, they were able to process those all the way through before the close of the polls.
Okay.
We did have a precinct, I think, that, was a little bit later than that, but I wouldn't anticipate this election to have more than we had in 2020.
All right. Well, this is great. I like the idea of continuing the vote by mail. It really, I think, enhances the turnout. So I'm glad that the state decided that was something that could be permanent. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have
I
questions?
will. I just want, Kathy, this is amazing, Madam Town Clerk. This is good. Is this on the website too, so people can see it?
I haven't put it on the website
I
yet,
think
but
it-
I certainly can do that.
Yeah, I mean, just to, so people understand it, and I like how, you know, how it's really all spelled out, and you even have it down to the minutes.
I did.
It's unbelievable.
Yep, I
Thanks.
sent
Great
it to
job.
the Secretary of State has reviewed this, and I did send it out to the town clerk group for the state of Massachusetts. So all the town clerks have actually seen this, and I've taken some feedback, and it'll be a kind of a working document as we move along.
I think it's great. You don't really fully understand it now. I like to see it in print. Thank you.
Yep, great. It's a,
I have one more question.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
The cost, is that covered by the state, or is that funded locally for this mail-in process, for the postage and sending the ballots out and the labor?
It's considered an unfunded mandate. So historically, I keep track of the cost of postage, employee time to do this extra work. For example, last year for the early voting, the last time I had to submit, I got like $23,000 reimbursed from the state.
Oh, that's good.
So it's about keeping track of what we're spending out and then getting reimbursed down the road.
Okay.
We would not get reimbursed for local election, I don't believe, because that is somewhat optional.
So we'll address that later on the local.
I'm working to get together with
Good.
town council to get some clarification on that.
Okay, good. So the clerk needs 3 motions in order for her to move forwards, and then before you, if somebody would take the motion for the early voting location hours, please?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to designate Town Hall as the early voting location for the September 6th, 2020 state primary election with the hours of Saturday, August 27th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday, August 29th, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., Tuesday, August 30th, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Did I say Tuesday? Wednesday, August 31st, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., Thursday, September 1st, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Friday, September 2nd, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. The next,
I'll
go
make
ahead,
the second one, Dan.
please.
I make a motion that the Select Board delegates the authority given to them in Chapter 92, Section 7-2 of the Act of 2022 to detail a sufficient number of police officers to each polling locations at every election therein to preserve under and to protect the election officers and supervisors from interference with their duties and to aid in enforcing the laws relating to elections to the Chief of Police in consultation with the town clerk.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. And the third?
Can I just?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, let me just, on the assignment of poll workers, I am always looking for new poll workers. If anybody is interested in becoming a poll worker, they can contact me directly. As far as poll workers go, I have been supplementing the poll workers with high school students in need of community service. So that collaboration between my office and the high school has gone really well. The students really enjoy that, as do the poll workers, like that coordination with the students.
So Danvers, if you want to be a poll worker, contact the town clerk, please.
you.
Thank you. And can we have a motion on the assignment of poll workers?
I make a motion to reaffirm that the Select Board delegates the authority to the town clerk to appoint and assign poll workers as needed for each election, for every election.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Does that take care of you, Kathy, for
That covers it
this?
for me today, thank you. I'll be
Yes.
back for November.
So, right, I was just going to say, we only did September, but
Correct.
you'll have to do the same process for November?
I think the only one that I'm going to need a motion on is going to be the early voting location and hours. I think we worded the motion on the assignment of officers and the poll workers in such a way that we would be okay unless the board sees fit to make a change to that. But I'm going to clarify that with town council as well.
Great, thank you very much, appreciate the
That was
update.
great.
Thank you.
The board will vote to confirm the July 12, 2022 appointment of the town manager to the Danvers Retirement Board. The board will vote to confirm the appointment. Gardner, any questions?
No, we received a letter with the unfortunate passing of Mr. Marquis. the office was, the appointment of the Danvers Retirement Board was necessary, and I fully support the town manager as our representative.
Thank you. Questions, Matt?
Maybe just the town manager can just explain at a high level what his role will be?
Sure. So the vote of the board tonight, there are 5 seats on the Danvers Retirement Board. This board is governed by both Mass General Law and PURAC, which is the state retirement commission. And the members of that board are responsible for managing the assets of the Danvers Retirement Board, which are the contributions that have been made over many years by the folks paying in, with the expectation that the system will be fully funded no later than 2040. Our system is on track to be fully funded by 2035. So this group makes decisions with respect to investment strategy and policy. It takes votes each year related to any COLA adjustments that will be provided to retirees, and works with investment managers and the state and Susan Little as the retirement manager to carry out the day-to-day roles and responsibilities for the board. So it's a 5-member board. Two of the seats are elected. Retiree Mike Hagan from the police department and Joe Collins from the town clerk's office are the 2 elected members. After Wayne's passing, Joe was voted in as the chair of the retirement board. The 3rd seat is by statute the town accountant, so that's Heather Varney. The 5th member on the board is selected by the other 4 members. The current 5th member is Steve Swanson, who's a retired financial auditor with a rental car company, has been on the board for a number of years. And the town manager has been the appointed 4th member since at least in the mid-1990s. There's both of these items, 11 and 12, I would characterize to a certain extent as housekeeping. Wayne appointed himself, and that appointment was accepted by PURAC every 3 years. Technically, it is a vote that this board should be ratifying, so we're bringing it forward to have it done that way. So that, in a nutshell, is the role.
Okay, thank you for that information. And these board meetings, are they public?
They are public.
And they're posted on the board?
They are.
Out there. Okay, good. Thanks for the info. That's all I have.
Any questions, David?
No, thank you.
Maureen?
No, that was my question. I wanted to say Steve has a lot to do. Just another thing added to your plate. Thank you for doing that.
Gordon, you all set?
Yeah, you started
Yeah,
with me.
right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
So we need a vote, a motion, please, to take the vote.
I move we confirm the board will confirm the July 12th, 2020 appointment of the town manager to the Danvers Retirement Board.
For a second?
Second.
Just a question, how long is your term, Steve?
It's a 3-year term.
3-year term, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, thank you. The board will vote to ratify the appointment of town council by the town manager in accordance with section 25 of the Town Managers Act. Steve has prepared a letter dated today that says, in accordance with the provision of the Danvers Town Manager Act, section 25, I am pleased to reappoint you to the position of town council effectively immediately through the end of the calendar year 2025, subject to ratification by the select board on this date. Any questions? David?
Just a comment that I pay a lot of attention, not as much as I used to because of my age. I think we have an excellent town council, and it seems to me that he has worked very well with our town manager, and we should definitely ratify this appointment because it's good for the town, and I think it's very helpful to our town manager's work.
Thank you. Matt?
Well, I think if the town manager and his staff are comfortable with with using this law firm, then I think we should just go ahead and approve it.
Thank you. Gardner?
Are we, the letter you have, is that to Dave DeLuca specifically, or to the law offices of Murphy, Hess, Toomey, and Lane?
It's to David directly. Care of, it doesn't say care of, but Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lehane.
So I had asked the town manager, are we reappointing the attorney's office, or are we reappointing David specifically?
David is our general counsel. hypothetically, and I don't anticipate this, if David were to retire next year, we would revisit.
Okay, thank you.
The relationship. But
So it
Dave-
is to the person.
Correct.
That's fine.
And we
I'm
do,
fine.
and we have experts in all different areas of the law. So we have a labor counsel that we use for labor, land use, tax, retirement.
And he subs out as needed.
And he's sort of quarterbacks that work for us, yeah.
Okay, no, thank you.
Maureen,
I think David does a great job. This is great. I'm all for it.
may I have a motion, please?
Motion to ratify.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, thank you. Town manager will report to the board on various items of interest. Steve?
Thank you. I had three, but Nova actually raised one of my three earlier in the evening, so I have two. The first related to Murphy Hesse. Normally, we get our annual legal update from council in June each year. It is fully my fault, but that completely, as summer was approaching, zipped through. And so Dave would have made himself available, but we'll be inviting him in September to provide the annual legal update to the board. We do that normally in executive session. We can attach that executive session to the beginning or the end of the meeting, depending on the will of the board. Historically, we've done it an hour before the normal meeting time, but that'll be at one of the two meetings in September. And then I've started asking the department heads to prepare their self-evaluations as part of the annual management compensation plan program. And they are collecting those as well from their direct report. So I also anticipate in September being prepared to bring that material to the board for a conversation on that. And the other was water, to reassure everybody that despite the drought, we're still in relatively good shape. And we're working closely with the state on some of the longer-term issues.
Okay, very good, thank you. Can we have a motion on the consent calendar?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, thank you. Correspondence, select board, new business updates. Matt?
I wonder if we could just discuss for a few minutes the climate change initiative that the board mentioned back in the spring. Have we gained any traction on that in terms of maybe generating some public discussion through a workshop perhaps?
So the 21 members of the group, which is spearheaded by the electric department, met initially July, and the homework for the summer is to take a survey and send the survey out to various factions in the community to kind of identify the direction that we should be going in and what to look at. I think there's 10 items on the survey, and Steve can correct me if I'm wrong, perhaps. And I notice there's no survey information out front in the board. Should be something there. We've reached out to members of Kiwanis. The survey was sent to the members of the Historic Society. They're going to meet with Pam Parkinson and maybe set up a informational session at the senior center, and they're reaching out to the community at large to take the survey. From that survey, they'll determine the direction we're going in. What are the top 3, 4, 5 items out of those 10 to look at? I didn't bring a survey with me. So I'm sorry. I kind of thought we would do that. I would do that, but I think we plan to have a representative from that group and the folks leading it address us after they have the information on the survey. I know it'll be in September or October. I think it might be October, but it's ongoing right now.
And I think in addition to that, there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes on preparing this. A big part of the climate action plan has to do with the baseline inventory of what we're using both as a community and a municipality. So the 21-member steering committee that the chair referenced is helping the consultant to identify who needs to be engaged, and the engagement process itself is going to kick off once we have the baseline prepared and have a sense of where to find the stakeholders. But I think it'll be the quiet before the kickoff is where we are right now. we also had a kickoff similarly with the strategic plan consultant who's going to work with us this year for the townwide strategic plan. And that'll be a similar process. And I think one of the things that's worked well, these consultants don't necessarily work together on a regular basis, but both have independently asked if, as part of the scope of their work, they can engage with the other consultants so that they're not duplicating a lot of these efforts, and they're able to make sure that the two reports have some synergy between them, which was a positive.
And Matt, I'm going to ask my contact person to send that survey to this board, and maybe other boards too.
That sounds good.
She keeps asking me who to send it, and I keep thinking of places, but certainly we should get
Right.
the survey, so we'll take care of that.
Yeah, and
Thank
just
you.
to follow up on that comment of mine, so Congress passed sort of a green initiative several days ago, so it will become, at least at a federal level, a more robust effort, I think, and it demonstrates to the residents that the town is also following suit and doing it at the same kind of effort at a local level. Maybe not as detailed in terms of solutions, but at least identifying the right path that we want to be on, especially when it comes to recycling. The electric batteries in cars, photovoltaic cells for solar panels, the wind turbine blades, those all have a limited life expectancy, and so the challenge is how do you recycle those items? And so just because you have an electric car doesn't mean you suddenly have, you've helped solve the problem. Electric batteries are in themselves a problem in their construction and also their disposal. And then just one other thing about to follow up on the comments that town meeting member Nova had mentioned earlier about the water. So I've been traveling around the North Shore all summer, and I see it's, especially in the Ipswich watershed, in other towns like Wilmington and North Andover, where people are out watering their lawns like at noontime. And I've seen like hundreds of people watering outside, and it's disconcerting that Danvers is forced to have these they're not draconian restrictions, but they are cumbersome in terms of trying to figure out how you're going to water your plants. It seems like the water restrictions should be applied at a regional level and not at a town by town. So you go to Salem and you see people washing their driveways with their hose. They don't seem to have any restrictions the next town over, and yet here in Danvers, most lawns are completely brown. You can't wash your car. So it doesn't seem kind of equitable that one town has these restrictions applied to us from a judicial perspective, and other towns just have free reign on the use when the water's basically coming from the same source. So just something I think maybe the legislature should follow up on, because this seems to be more of a trend rather than just, it's not really a weather event per se, although it appears that way. I think it's more of the long-term climate changes that, 30 or 40 years from now, what will Danvers look like in terms of trying to even just provide safe drinking water? So I think it's something that we all should be focusing on. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. David?
Just a couple of things. I hope that the town manager can convey to the people who are responsible for our electrical system that they must have done a superb job in the last 2 weeks, because I haven't seen a light bulb blink or a brown out, and that's a great job. Second thing is I receive all kinds of comments from people who are so pleased with our recreation program and the number of programs that are available for children and young adults during the summer especially, and people are grateful. I don't know how many concerts we've had on the library ground, but I know that some people are really, really, really happy about that. They look forward to them year after year after year. And I made my way down to one a week or so ago, and there were a lot of happy people there. So whoever's responsible for organizing that, Gardner may have something to do with it, I don't know, but it's a wonderful thing for a lot of very nice people. Next to last, that I hope that at some point, maybe the town moderator could appoint a committee to consider compensation for the Board of Selectmen. I'm especially interested in the work of the chair of the board. I did it once, and wow, I wouldn't want to do it again. And the amount of work that Gardner and Dan especially have put in the last couple of years, there should definitely be, in my view, a very substantial increase in the select chair's stipend. But in any event, just so that people probably know this already, in the event that a board votes to increase pay for members of that board, the members of the board who are sitting and voting on that do not benefit from any of it unless they are reelected, 2 or 3 years down the way. But I've just seen that amount of work that Dan and Gardner have done, and boy, oh boy, what great value the town has for that input. And finally, I always talk about the school teachers that I had in Danvers and how much I really, really loved going to Danvers Public Schools. And last Saturday, there was a reunion. It was actually the 60th reunion of the class of 1960 of Holton High. And I was invited, even though I went to the prep, because they've always considered me a member of that class. So I went to this beautiful little reunion, and I sat at a table with 3 girls, because as a boy, those 3 girls and I started Tapley School together in 1948, which means we'd been friends for 74 years. And we were just as connected as we were then. We talked about all the teachers we had and how wonderful it was to be part of, Tapley School, which is one of our schools. So it's hard. School committees have hard jobs, and people in government have hard jobs. And I just wanted to say, what a great school system we had when I was going through it, and I'll always be grateful for that. Thank you, that's all. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, David. Gardner?
Thank you. We've got a couple of issues that I'd like to bring up that are new. One is our role as select board members and political endorsements. I was recently approached by a political candidate for an endorsement, and I support this person 100% as an individual. Told that person so. They asked if I would endorse them in a campaign they're doing, and I said yes, as long as you use my name, but not my role as select board member. I think that putting the title has an inference of itself. We are a unaffiliated board. We don't take political parties in consideration, and I think that this is me personally, and the other board members are welcome to do, but I think that we should be cautious about political endorsements to make sure that people understand that it is your own personal viewpoint and not as your role as a select board member, because I'm not representing the people who elected me in making that political statement when I make a political endorsement. So I wanted to bring that up. I don't know how others feel about it, but I just think
I think it's a good point.
I think it's a great point.
Thank you.
Okay. I think this other person was approached by others. I spoke to that person today and asked that my name alone, without title, be added to that person's endorsement. If people want to follow suit, that's on to them. That leads me to another issue, and I want to maybe this is a discussion for when we have a retreat, but I'll put it out there, is that I was also approached in email by a group who had a very laudable goal of reaching out to state legislatures about a particular environmental issue and asked if they could use my name as a signatory. another member of the board has already said yes and used their title. And again, I think that when we do that, especially when approaching state legislatures or other government officials, I think we either speak as a board or we don't speak as a board. I don't know that individual board members should be throwing their name out there in endorsement of something. This happens to be a laudable goal. I don't know enough about this particular organization and only dragged it out of them what the letter said. But I think that if it's, and this has been out for a while, this email has been out for a while, if it is something that a board member feels they would want to sign up themselves, I get it. But I would also like the opportunity to bring it to the board and say, yes, we as a board endorse this thing, we as a board don't endorse this thing, however it happens. I want to be cautious about the representation of the board through the use of your title when it may not be a board decision. So I just throw that out there.
Good subject matter for the retreat.
Okay, very good. I got the letter Sally sent to George and I, but I'll defer to you. The last topic I want to bring up, I mentioned it briefly, but I would like to have a motion, a vote, a discussion about the fact that during COVID, we moved our meetings back to 6 o'clock. It was easy to do, everybody was remote, it was easy to get to town hall. Now that COVID has allowed most of us to return to the workforce who want to, we have a lot of people outside of town for which, if they leave work at 5, they're not getting back to Danvers at 6. I think that I'm personally supportive of the fact that we should move our meetings back to 7. I looked at the current calendar on the town website, and other than the select board, there's only 3 other boards that meet at 6 o'clock. One is the rail trail, one's river committee, and one's Board of Health.
Preservation at 5:30.
Danvers Housing, too.
Danvers Housing is at 7. Danvers Affordable Housing is at 7.
No, not the affordable, the Danvers Housing Authority.
But that's
Yeah,
not,
okay.
that's not our,
Okay.
that's not our town organization. Planning Board, Historic District, Conservation Commission, Zoning, and 7 others, commissions and boards in this town meet at 7. I think we owe it to the citizens to return to 7 o'clock so that they can make the meetings if they want to. And members aren't stressed about getting to a meeting after work.
So just to make comment, during COVID, we really went to 5:30.
Okay?
And after that, we went back to 6, and we've been doing 6. We'll have to research that when we started the 6, but it was pre-COVID.
Independent of when it happened?
Well, what you said, we did it for COVID, so I just,
Okay.
we
All right.
need to confirm that. And like you, I hear from a lot of people that work at home or retired or in the area, and they like the early meeting. So, I don't know, do we poll the public? We'll have to discuss that.
Okay, because our next meetings are at 6 o'clock in September.
That's the calendar was approved under you as chair.
And what I'm suggesting, whether it was approved or not is understandable. I'm asking for a change. I'm suggesting it's more appropriate to go 7 PM as the majority of other town boards and commissions are there, and we scaled it back. So I'm asking that we go back. How we, whether we meet in the middle and go 6:30, whether we do something else, I want to know the mechanism to make this a board decision. Is it putting it on for an agenda item for next time? Is it, we changed it and set the schedule without necessarily being an agenda item. So you, as.
Well, the calendar is presented to all of us with a draft for discussion.
So how
minutes
can we
approved.
pursue that, how can we pursue either a 6:30 or 7 o'clock start?
I don't have an answer for you. Because the calendar is printed for the balance of the year. So we'll have to address it for next
But
year.
as your fond of saying, we can, we have the right to change things. We have the ability to change things, and I don't think that we are locked into that for the rest of the year. If we want to say September, great, okay, but I think we should have a discussion, and I don't know what the answer is, but I don't believe that it should simply be, we voted once and that's the end of it. I think times have changed and people have changed and people have responsibilities now in traffic now. People didn't deal with traffic for 2.5 years. People are dealing with traffic now. So I'd like to know how we make that a consideration.
We'll have to think about it and take it under advisement. I don't know that people are dealing with more traffic now than they were 2 years ago. So I don't know, we'll have to just kind of, as members, think about it and put it on for discussion at some point in time.
Okay, and I had raised it at one of the previous meetings, and I would have thought people would have thought about it, and I'd like to get it at some point, an official consideration by the board for which we make a decision to stay at 6 or not.
I would support a 7. I would rather meet at 7.
May I speak, Dan?
Yes, please.
Yeah, for years and years and years and years and years and years, our town meetings, you know, ZBA, Planning Board, Conservation Commission, especially in this room, they were 7 o'clock. And so there's kind of a tradition of 7. That's, you know, for me, it's so easy. I walk across the street. But I mean, other people have to work for a living and have travel issues, and I don't know. I just kind of like 7 because it's traditional, but I also respect all of the other reasons why people might have a different view on that.
Lauren, do you want to weigh in this time, or think about it?
I like early because if we have a lot on the agenda, I mean, we've been here till 11:30 at night sometimes.
When we were at
Yeah.
7, we were here till 11 at night.
Yeah,
many times.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I get tired at night. I mean, we've got Nova and Bill, and I'm sorry, I don't know your name. You people are always here, you know, how would you feel about if we changed the time?
So I used to work in Boston, and 7 was the only way I could make it. I now work repeatedly, so I can be here. But if I still work in Boston, I would be here.
Bill?
Retired, I don't have a life. I work in Woburn, so I mean, depends the time I get out, but sometimes it is when I have that over.
I mean,
I would like something in the middle.
what if we do 6:30 then? You know, I guess whatever the will of the board, maybe we can take it under advisement, Dan, and discuss it more?
We can, we will.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I
I
would.
don't think we're going to make a decision right now
Yeah.
on that. Anything else, Gardner?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. very
Right,
good.
so can I have a few things just to
It's
say?
your turn.
Yep, thank you very much. First of all, we're back from vacation, everybody, and nice to see everyone here. I want to congratulate our new police officers and our firefighters. That was great, whoops. And the food pantry is looking for school supplies. Believe it or not, the kids will be back to school, and the veterans, Dan will always, he speaks up for the veterans, but they always need things, you know, some foot powder, you know, soups and nuts and things like that. We'll be back, all of us on our committees. The Danvers Rail Trail is always looking for volunteers. And the Danvers Housing Authority, we're meeting this week, along with probably our Affordable Housing Trust also with Gardner. And I also want to say that we all get emails, and we can take things under advisement. Maybe we could ask the town manager, maybe for an update on the Beverly Airport. You know, that's always the noise and the touch and goes. An update, maybe have Aaron come before us. I know we talked about that before, so we want to bring him back in and see how that's going. An update maybe on the New England Home for the Deaf property update. And I just want to say, I'm glad the seniors are kept cool in our senior center, you know, with the air conditioning. And, you know, that's always open to them from 8 to 4. And the other thing, too, that maybe the town manager can talk about next time, too, is, and maybe we can have our Director of Equity and Inclusion come before us, because there was some concerns about, with our welcoming committee, about the flags that we talked about, the National Enforcement Officers Memorial Flag in May and the National Fallen Firefighters Memorial in October, which is usually the first Sunday in October. And maybe we can get an update with her and with you, Steve, like are we flying those flags on those months?
I did exchange emails with the person I presume you're talking about. We did let him know that we do fly those flags in October. That was the recommendation from the report.
Yeah.
And we put information on the website explaining what those flags are and represent. Those were the flags that our public safety professionals
Right.
Recommended that we use.
In the May flag, too.
I don't know anything
Yeah,
about the
'cause
May,
that
but
was the national-
October was the date
yeah.
that the U.S. Congress passed.
Yeah, the October one was the National Fallen Firefighters Memorial, which we want to naturally honor them. And then the in May, we have the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial flag because, you know, these men and women, you know, in the nation, you know, they dedicate everybody, the firefighters and the police protecting us in our neighborhoods across America. And it's, as Bill will tell you, it's selfless public servants who put themselves in harm's way every day to keep us safe. So we want to continue, and maybe we can have the director come and update us on, you know, what we're going to do and make sure that those are being flown where we discussed at the welcoming committee. Right, Nova was there too. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Very good. So, last week I attended a ribbon cutting downtown. We were invited by the North Shore Latino Business Association, the largest minority business organization of the North Shore and surrounding areas, to join them for the official grand opening ribbon cutting at Unpacked Living Danvers, right downtown. Unpacked Living Danvers at 66 Maple Street. Maria Sabrina Claire sells all reusable, recyclable items that are environmentally friendly, soaps, shampoos. You can bring your bottles in, she'll fill them up. It's a great concept. She's really into the environment. And so I was very happy to meet her. And I suggest everybody go downtown to 66 Maple Street, meet Maria, and check out the supplies and items she has. It's really amazing. It's wooden straws, disposable wooden toothbrushes, it's no plastic at all. It's stuff that decomposes. I mean, it's really a great little shop, and I hope she is very successful. The concept certainly will be successful. We had a couple of references to letters tonight from fellow board member, and I'm going to read a letter from that's from George Saludo to Miss Iton at the Better Bus Project, MBTA. Thank you and your MBTA team members for your bus network redesign public meeting, Mystic River and North Shore Zoom conference on Wednesday, June 8th, and thank you for the opportunity to provide feedback via the forum. Danvers is no longer a sleepy MBTA outliner. The comprehensive BBP presentation was outstanding, professional. During the forum, I was permitted to present a few data points that clearly illustrates the fact that Danvers is no longer an MBTA outlier. After completing a major downtown rezoning a couple of years ago, our downtown Danvers has two major metro areas planning councils, MAPC, recommended developments up and running. 4 more are in the fast track planning and ahead of the Danvers Planning Board agenda. Result, 25 to 30 new small street-level walk-in retail units, 275, 300 additional living units. Danvers will have many more folks living, working, as well as traveling to and from our downtown. Additionally, many of these apartment dwellers will trend to prefer and seek mass transit rather than be burdened with suburban housing cars. Brief background, 2007-8, while serving on a Danvers committee, I was invited to attend an extensive series of conferences around Boston with representatives of several other communities, Metro Future, Mark Dreesen and his staff did an extraordinary job orchestrating the enormous task of defining, collecting, organizing, formulating a powerful schema for buffering suburban spread and revitalizing community downtowns. While all good things take a while, Danvers is now in the Metro Futures ballgame. Please consider this shift in our deliberation of the Better Bus project. And Representative Sally Kerens wrote to George, "Thank you for joining the MBTA Bus Network Redesign meeting on June 8th to present feedback to the MBTA on its bus plan and the already eliminated Danvers Square stop. Your presentation was stellar. I was glad to be joined by you and other Danvers residents to make our voices heard to MBTA officials. There was a great article in the Salem News that discussed the efforts. I also wanted to share some encouraging news. The House of Representatives passed a transportation bond bill on June 23rd, and I was able to get language in the bill that required the MBTA to restore a bus stop in Danvers Square. Additionally, I submitted an amendment to the bill that will require the MBTA to engage with local planning officials to explore alternatives every time they propose to remove bus service. I'm encouraged that both amendments were adopted in the final House bill and hopefully they will prevail in the Senate version as well. Both signs of progress and a step in the positive direction. This is an important moment for our town and our broader transportation vision. Senator Lovely and I will continue to keep the pressure on the MBTA to restore Danvers Square stop as part of the changes to the bus network redesign plan, and I was glad you were part of it. Thank you, and let's keep it up. Sally Kerens. So we are working, I say we, the community, our elected officials, citizens, Gardner, are working with the MBTA to get back these stops. So it doesn't happen overnight, but as Sally said, it was encouraging that they did pass a transportation bond bill with language in it. So they just wanted to give that update. Other than that, please thank the veterans when you see them, and good night, Danvers.